So this is our final award. This is the Agrow Lifetime Achievement Award. It's sponsored by Plant Impact, and this award differs from all the others in that it was voted on by Agrow's readers. 10,000 or more people contributed to this result. This award is for an exceptional individual who has a consistent history of service above and beyond the call of duty throughout his or her career. So it could be almost any one of us in this room tonight. We had a very distinguished shortlist, which included Dr. John Frantz, Dr. Bob Holm, Professor Dr. Inigo Potrikas, and Professor Mark Van Montague, and others possibly too numerous to mention. That's to make you all feel comfortable. Okay? Those were the shortlisted people. The voting was extremely close, with each candidate finding support from a sector of the Agrow readership. But even from this esteemed group, there has to be one winner. And we're going to hear who that winner is from the CEO of Plant Impact. Would you please welcome to the stage, not the winner, but the person who's going to announce the winner. It's Peter Blezard. Peter?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now is the time for what Giles promised earlier, the sex and violence. I would like to congratulate all the winners tonight. I want to say something about commerce in general, though. Everyone in this business that I've met over the last 5 years is a winner. And the reason we're proud to sponsor this award is people are successful, not companies. People like you in this room. This is a very tough business I found to come into. Plant Impact is a young company. And it's working in your wonderful business. I'm not from this business. My background's commerce in many businesses. But I've come into your business to try and bring a new company to the market. I have personally sold a lot, though, since we came to this business of yours. I've sold my house, I've sold my car, I've sold my TVs, and it carries on like that. Now down to business. PI is honoured to support this category. As I said, it's people that actually built this business over many years, and that's why we're here today. And we applaud the Agrow team for taking the courage to bring this event together, and they've been very good supporters for Plant Impact. The recipient of the first Agrow Lifetime Achievement Award is Dr. Bob Holm. Bob has worked for nearly 40 years in the crop protection industry, but most of us will know him for his time with IR4. One of Bob's greatest accomplishments has been his ability to develop win-win IR4 partnerships with registrants, commodity groups and regulatory agencies, including the EPA. I wish we'd met him earlier, I think. California Department of Pesticide Regulation and Canada's Pest Management Regulatory Agency. These partnerships have resulted in thousands of food use clearances on reduced risk, safer traditional chemicals and biopesticides. Now it's time, I think I'd like to ask you all to join me in congratulating Dr. Bob Holm on his Lifetime Achievement Award.
I've been asked to say a few words, and I really greatly appreciate the honor given the distinguished finalists that I was competing against. I certainly want to thank BCPC and Agrow for sponsoring the award, those of you who may have voted for me, but most of all, my wife Nancy, who has accompanied me on this trip. She has withstood my adventures for 44 years of our marriage, seen me through graduate school and 30 years in the crop protection industry and the last 10 years in the public sector, and I appreciate that support very much. I've been really blessed to be part of a revolution the last 50 years, probably the most productive period in our history in crop protection and crop production. I grew up on a small farm in Indiana where we grew corn, and I can remember before the advent of post-emergence herbicides having to cultivate the weeds out of corn and many times go through with a hoe and remove them mechanically by hand. Then there came a product along called 2,4-D, a remarkable compound at that time, would remove the broadleaf weeds from corn and saved myself and a lot of people a lot of time. That sort of, I think, piqued my interest in crop protection. I did my graduate work in biochemistry and plant physiology and mode of action of herbicides. Very fortunate to have a career in industry where I've associated with a number of great companies and involved with products like chlorothalonil with Diamond Shamrock Corporation, biphenyx and aceflorphin sodium at Mobile Crop Chemical, phosphatyl aluminum, bromoxynil and fipronil at Derone Plank, and more recently clethodim, pyriproxyfen, and flumioxin from Valent Crop Protection and Sumitomo Chemical. But I had an opportunity to kind of end my career to change gears and work in the public sector, and it just, I guess, one of those things that I was the right place at the right time. In the U.S., we had in 1996 what was called the Food Quality Protection Act, a brand new standard of health safety for infants and children. And the EPA ground to a stop after that because it was a new set of regulations that they didn't know how to impose. So IR4, before I joined, was getting about 100 clearances a year, which was a good output. In 1997, we had 1 clearance. Things were very gloomy, and when I came aboard, it was sort of a challenge to see what I could do, and a great one for me and the team. As was mentioned before, we started partnerships, and one was with the crop protection industry. There are a lot of new products in the pipeline, but most of them weren't targeted for the minor or specialty crops, and that's what IR4 is really funded for by the U.S. government and the land-grant university system in the United States. So we looked at the Food Quality Protection Act and showed it had incentive of additional 3 years of data protection if compounds were registered on specialty or minor crops. So this was a great incentive for the crop protection industry to work with us on the minor crops. But then we had to work on the regulatory end because the EPA had to gear up to review a lot of additional petitions. So we worked with them and formed a technical working group to see how we could improve efficiencies in regulatory processes. We ended up forming a technical group, formatted our petitions separately, bundled them, actually then moved into electronic submissions, which the EPA recognizes as saving about 25% of their review time. But as mentioned before, we started to go a little further than that. California had a duplicate regulatory system in the Department of Pesticide Regulation. And it seemed to me and other people that to have 2 scientific groups review the same information seemed to be quite redundant. So we convinced the agency and DPR to allow DPR to do the scientific review, and the agency would approve it. So, and again, another efficiency. Then expanded into the NAFTA region with Canada and Pest Management Regulatory Agency, and a new program in Canada that started about 5 years ago with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, which was patterned after IR4. So then we got into the NAFTA arena. So the bottom line is that we went from about 100 clearances per year pre-1996 to 1 to 80 to 200 to 500, and the last 5 years over 1,000 a year. Last year we had a record of 1,100. So I think everybody in this room realizes that individuals don't accomplish achievements in a vacuum, and I'm no exception. I've been very fortunate to be given a lot of opportunities in the crop protection industry with companies that allowed me to do research and to get into management positions. But really blessed the last 10 years to be involved with a very unique program that was able to develop partnerships across many stakeholder groups, from the crop protection industry to regulatory bodies to the commodity groups in the U.S. to really help get crop protection tools in the hands of minor and specialty crop growers. So I accept this award on behalf of the people that I've worked with over the years, and thank you so much, Agrow, for sponsoring this.
Well done. Bravo, Dr. Bob Holm.